Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Uniquely Royale, and I want to talk to you about the love of God. In the book of Genesis, chapter 29, it talks about two people, Jacob and Rachel, and it talks about how they meet each other. Jacob meets Rachel at the well, and Jacob falls in love with her. Rachel ends up going back to her father saying that there's this man here in our country, and he says that he's your relative. The father goes out and urgently meets him and says, surely you are bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. Long story short, the father tricks Jacob into marrying his firstborn because in their country they weren't allowed to marry the younger before the older. But Leah was tender-eyed and Rachel was beautiful. She was beautiful in the face and she was lovely in the waist. Leah ends up having her womb opened by God, and Rachel's womb is barren. Since Leah was unloved by Jacob, the Lord favored her and she ends up having children, and Rachel ends up being jealous and envious of her sister because her womb was open and hers wasn't, all for the love of Jacob. So they end up competing with each other. So Rachel goes to Jacob and she says, give me what I want or else I die. And Jacob ends up getting upset. He gets mad at her and he says, wait a minute, I'm not the cause of your womb not being open. So instead of Rachel not going to God, she ends up going to her handmaiden and said, well, I'm going to have you lay with my husband so I can have children by you. And he lays with her and he ends up having children. And so Rachel and Leah are going tit for tat for children. In the end, it says that the Lord remembered Rachel and she ends up finally conceiving and having a child and naming the child Joseph. All of this concludes to, you don't have to compete for God's love. It says that Jacob loved her, and it says that during those 7 years, it felt like days because he loved her so. Rachel didn't have to do not one thing for Jacob. She didn't have to shake a tail feather. She didn't have to go out and give him no food. Like, she didn't have to do anything. She didn't have to cook him nothing. She didn't have to put on certain clothes, put on his makeup. He already loved her. And that's how God loves you. It says in John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. He loves you already. You don't have to do not one thing. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to do anything to make him love you any more or any less. He loves you. His love has no measure. It has no beginning. He loves you so very much. So that's it. That's all I have for you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll be back with more.